One of my best friends has shared something with me and just really ground my gears, and I'm going to go into big rant. It's like a 20-minute rant, and I haven't done these in a while. Just getting into the rant right now. Hey, so this is just going to be a reading of something a friend of mine shared with me that just ground my gears, and I just wanted to discuss this. First of all, let me just read what this is. It's going to be up on the screen right now. This is something that was in a group called Middle American Democrat, and it's this. It says, "What children are learning from the current US president? Never apologize to anyone. Science is stupid. Anyone different is bad. You don't have to be nice. America is the only country in the world. Women are less important than men. Be afraid of anyone not white. School is not important. Teachers are low-paid idiots. It is always okay to lie." Okay, so with this list, I just want some thoughts. Just first an overview, why ground my gears. With some of these things, people just spit these things out without actually giving examples. If I was making a post like this, when I had a situation like this, when I was still religious and I believed these things, I'm telling you, and this thing, it's a religious thing for people. First of all, for you to understand why somebody would write something like this and put it out there, understand they're looking at politics as a religious thing. To them, if you are a Christian, look at it in the sense where, let's say somebody came out and you had suspicions that they were actually working for Satan, or through Satan was somehow working through that person. That's the lens they view someone like Donald Trump as. He is the anti-positive, anti-messiah, anti-messianic figure for their religion of progressivism, of statism. In that situation, that makes it more understandable to why somebody would post this. But part of why I came out from being a theist, from being Christian specifically, as I was raised with that, because I started growing up and saying, are these people evil? Is this good? Is this evil? When you say this person is saying all these things about the world, oh, these scientists are going out and they're saying this about creation, yet it's supposed to be just so clearly we can see it. Supposedly, the world was created. Look at the trees. The trees show you that God did this, and these people are saying it's evolution. They're saying, oh, everything came from nothing. And it was like, are these people that stupid? Why would they not see these things if it's positive? All these people in my life are telling me this is true. What God is saying is true. They're saying Christianity is the way to look at the world. And that's how these people are. The kids around them, these people are being told, look at the world through progressivism. Look at the world through statism. Look at the world through this lens. And when you look at it that way, you can understand why they would think someone like Trump has done these things. So I looked out and I tried to find evidence for these claims that the Christians were making. And I found no evidence. So I stopped believing those things. And that's how it is with this situation. For you to do this, what is the evidence? Where is the evidence to back these things? Because if I was posting this, I would post this list, and then in the comment section, I would give some examples to point out why he was saying these things. And now I'm going to go through some of them and try to think, okay, why would they have done this? And this is something I'm kind of doing in this other list that I have, this other series that I have, reading Trump's wall, which I go and read the post-its that were on this wall that people had objections or support of Trump after he won. So I'm kind of going to go that people literally mean figuratively in some senses, and then people are looking at this through as a faith thing. So I'm trying to think, what examples are there for this thing? Okay, never apologize to anyone. One of the big things was the whole situation where Donald Trump said he was caught in that was it Good Morning America? It was some kind of show with Billy Bush or someone like that. And then he was heard saying, oh, some women, if you are in a certain position, a certain male, they let you grab them by the you-know-what, by their private areas. And he came out with that one. I specifically remember people were saying, oh, you should apologize. He actually did come out after that and give an apology. He has apologized for certain things. But I have mentioned this previously. For me, I don't apologize unless I've done something wrong directly. I've talked about this before. I had a friend who confided in me something really tough that happened in their life, and I just said sorry, and they're like, why are you saying sorry? You had nothing to do with this. I'm like, oh, it's just a thing people say. And that is true. People just say these things. I was like, yeah, that's just what people say. What am I supposed to do? The person said, oh, well, I confided in you. That was enough. We have this relationship. So I thought, okay, now what do you say? Oh, I'm here to listen to you. Do you want to talk about this more? There's other things you can do. But if you have done something directly and unintentionally hurt somebody, and you've had an act in that, then yes, you apologize. But if somebody just takes offense, I don't have to apologize for things that I didn't intend to do. I don't have to apologize for things that weren't directly done by me that I couldn't have directly changed. And in many cases, these apologies don't lead to anything. People ask you to apologize, and then they just use that against you. They still persecute you after that. There's a lot of things on the political left, on the mobs in general, they make you apologize and then they still persecute you. This is another religious thing. This is similar to the Christians. I had this separate video talking about no one suspected the MAGA Inquisition, comparing the Spanish Inquisition to what's going on right now. With the Spanish Inquisition and some of these pogroms and things like that they wanted you to admit to being a witch, and then once you admitted to being a witch, they would still kill you. They would say, you have to apologize for committing this thing, this crime, this evil that you did actually do, because magic doesn't exist in that sense. Then once you admit to doing it, they would still kill you for it. You have a situation in 1984 where they made Winston Smith had to acknowledge that Big Brother actually loved him, even though he didn't believe that. And then once he actually believed that, once he actually acquiesced to that demand of it from them, they still killed him. And that's what they do in this situation. They say, you must apologize. And then they still boycott you. They still cancel you. How many examples can you think of when somebody apologized and they're like, okay, maybe that person has learned, maybe it's changed? Are you still damned? Okay, science is stupid. What example is this? This is probably the climate change thing. Climate change is this current year religion's form of Ragnarok. It's this current year religion's form of the book of Revelations. These are things that have continued. The Mayans had their calendars ending in the 2000s, the Mayan things. This is something that humans have had. Ever since we have become aware of death, we have these fetishes with the end of the world. Christianity itself is a death cult. There's a lot of them, devout Christians, who are welcoming the end of all existence because they think there's going to be a positive thing after that that's going to take them to a better place, to a better existence. And this is a mentality that didn't start with Christianity, and it sure as hell is not going to end with Christianity. It has carried on to the progressive religion and other people talking about things in different ways. So science is stupid. What has Trump said to say science is stupid? Is it that he's climate change now, coming out of the Paris Accord? Even though you look at the situation where the United States of America, I think, has been shown to have had as more reduction from their pre-Paris climate change. I think from the last 4 years, you look at the reduction of CO2 creation, I think the United States has had the most. It's had more than most or all of the countries that are still in the Paris Accord. And the Paris Accord is also non-binding. So there's a lot of situations that I've talked about how trees are solid because they take carbon dioxide out of the air. Trees are essentially solid carbon dioxide, solid air. There's questions to be had about these things, even not from Trump themselves, even from people who dislike Trump. Go out there and check the science. This whole idea of a consensus is not really something that's quite there. Anyone different is bad. Okay, what is the example of this? Where are you getting this from? This is just the whole thing. Trump is literally that Austrian guy. They're just talking about Trump is alt-right, Trump is pro-white, is white supremacist. Where is the hard evidence behind this? What is that black support? Are people just like, the black people who support him are just too stupid to see that he actually hates them? Is that what it is? Whatever connection you want to have between the actual government policies and the actual results in the world in general, when you have historically low levels of, and again, you can talk about the numbers and things like this, but it actually has been shown that even if you just want to compare the numbers now compared to the numbers during Obama's administration, there are less minorities unemployed. The unemployment numbers have changed. So you can talk about fudging the numbers, but the same people who were celebrating those numbers under Obama are taking those same formulae, that same formula is being applied now, and people are saying, no, that's not the same. When he took that list that was actually made during Obama's actual time in office, actual terms, and then he actually laid it out and he said, okay, we're going to hold this thing out there and actually ban these certain people from these certain countries. Oh, it's a Muslim ban. He hates brown people. He hates Arabs. I don't know. It's ridiculous. Okay, you don't have to be nice. Yeah, you don't have to be nice. I don't think you have to be nice. You don't have to be nice to me. You don't have to be nice to anyone. This is a give or take thing. I don't have to be nice to people who are not being nice to you. Don't walk around thinking you have to be nice to everyone. You don't owe anything to anyone else. But being nice normally brings back nice things to you. There's normally this give or take. But in general, I don't have to be nice to you. You don't have to be nice to me. Doesn't mean you have to be bad to me. Doesn't mean I have to be bad to you. You don't have to be anything to anyone else. You don't owe people in that situation. This whole social contract type of thing. It's this: if I'm going to go out and relate with people, it is to my benefit to be nice to most people. But if somebody is trying to harm me, it is not to my benefit to be nice to that person. So have standards. America is the only country in the world. America is a massive country. And a lot of the people who say this talk about how horrible America is. And I'm saying, compared to what country? A lot of these people are talking about, oh, I'm going to leave America. If he wins, it's going to be hell. To go where? Where are you going to go? Where are these other countries that you think are just so much better, that everything is kumbaya and a good time? Where are these other countries? Like I was talking about, Asians are political ninjas to a lot of the people. Do they think Asia is just a peaceful place because it's mostly Asians? These people don't care about Africa. They don't care about. I've talked about how Americans, black is a different tribe. When most people say black in the United States of America, they're not talking about Negroes all over the world. They're not talking about the most populous outside of Africa country of Negroid people, sub-Saharan African people, people of sub-Saharan African ancestry, which is not the United States of America. It's Brazil. They're not talking about Brazilians. They're not talking about the life that happens here in places like Kenya, people in Africa, because it's not all peaceful. This whole idea, what other country are they comparing to say that, okay, these other countries are better? So I'm talking about this idea. They're also very focused on their country alone and the bad things and the first world problems occurring in their country alone. They don't really look at other countries in that sense. Okay, women are less important than men. Again, how? What's your evidence of this? He's been divorced 2 times. Keeps going back to women. He seems to like women enough. He's had the pageant. He cares for women in his own way. I think one of his weaknesses is how much he actually listens to his daughter Ivanka Trump, because she's had some. But he seems to care for women. He does care for women in some sense. So less important than men. He might think they're different, but we're a sexually dimorphic species. There are things women can do better than men in general. There are things men can do better than women in general. But this is not a surprise to me. If you look at the world this way, but some people are, we're all equal. No, this whole idea of equality is not true. But what is the evidence that he's saying women are less important than men? He has appointed women in many different positions. One of the really, I guess, sad things, kind of sad and unfortunate, was Kellyanne Conway was one of his major campaign organizers. And I think she might have been one of the first women to actually run a successful campaign that won the presidency, but look at how she was treated after that. There are other women who will come out and very, very supportive of him. I personally know somebody that ran for political office and then ended up actually joining the whole group like Women for Trump. There is a situation there. And then you look at the situation where people say, oh, white women are the ones who damned us to have Trump because white women voted on a high percentage for Trump. They talk about that kind of situation. So you're saying these women are stupid. These are the same women, some people saying women are smarter than men or just as smart as men. They should be empowered to go out there in the workforce and make all these decisions. When those women make decisions, oh, these women are stupid, they're being cheated by this man that they can't see he's evil, that he hates them. Is that what they're saying? I don't know. Be afraid of anyone not white. This goes back to the Islamophobia thing, goes back to the homophobia thing. What is this phobia? What kind of situation is this? And I think some of this is internalized. With some of these situations, I'm thinking the person who posted this would not be surprised if they had recent European Caucasoid ancestry. And I don't know how many non-people in that kind of ethnicity are they aware of or dealing with. Some of them do project that situation and they have that fear thing. But this is identity politics. This is dividing people up. The LGBTQ people LGB people are now afraid of T people, saying T people are coming in and taking those spaces. The whole feminists are breaking up to these different sections, and these identity politics is not something that's going to last for long because you keep dividing people into smaller and smaller groups. Yet you have this collectivist thing. Collectivist is positive, yet individualism kind of ends up building, I think, breaking its way through there. So you're fracturing, and now you're part of this group, part of that group, part of this group, instead of just being an individual and trying to deal with people on a one-on-one basis and then understand certain groups have certain interests, but that doesn't define every single person in that group. And for you to actually listen to some of these interests, they should be able to voice those interests and explain why somebody who's not who you in that group. If I'm in group X and I want people in group ABC to do something for me, even though I tell them that you being in ABC have no possible way of understanding how it is to be X, then it's up to me to explain what being X is and make the case for them to do things for X instead of just demanding, why aren't these people doing things for me? You already put yourself in a position where you're saying you are so different from these people that they can't understand you, and then you sit there and complain that they're not doing things that are to your preference. Well, you're the one who's saying that it's impossible for them to understand you. So frustrating. Okay, school is not important. Well, education is important, but what schools have become are not that important. But when you have groups of people who are into credentialism, who are into, oh, there's a consensus of these people who are doing these things, when you have people who feel the need to introduce themselves as I as a lesbian, transgender, male-presenting black male who was born in Europe and lived in Africa and then lived in the United States of America and attended XYZ school and X in ABC location and studied QPR, and then you say what you have to say. I don't care about all those qualifications. Just tell me what you're going to say. Is what you're saying true? Is what you're saying is what you're saying backed by evidence? Is there value in what you're saying? Then we can judge that value from that. We don't have to go to all these qualifications. I don't have to just put all these credentials on my wall. Oh, this guy's a PhD, so I'm going to listen to him. Well, first of all, in some situations, just because I am a PhD in one thing doesn't mean I'm qualified to speak on another thing. And just because you're not a PhD in one thing doesn't mean you're disqualified to speak on me on what I'm talking about. Just because somebody is a woman, is female, doesn't mean they can't speak out on something that males experience. You can learn these things. If they're actually thinking school and education is important, then they should understand the point of education is learning from experiences that you haven't directly done. Other people accumulate knowledge, and then there's ways to condense that knowledge and pass it on to other people that don't have to do those experiments. We don't have to invent a new language every single time, because somebody can take that knowledge and pass it on to somebody else. You can learn from other people. So that is a possible thing to do. So if that's the education they're thinking about, instead of just simple credentialism, then that's okay. School is not equivalent, is not the same as education. Being schooled is not the same as being educated. In general, that's why some of these people are super against. You have these people who are very much against homeschooling because they say, oh, these people want to homeschool them so they can teach them about religion and all these other things. Technically, that's a school. People want to say, oh, this school is not okay because it doesn't let these people in and they don't have a full experience of what it is to be like in the world. So they even have their situations where they understand not all schools, institutions are built equally. It's about the actual content in the school, not the appearance of the school, not the structure of the school itself. It's not just simply the degree. Do you get an English degree from any school and it's the same? It depends on where you go to, what country you go to, what location you are. And these people, because of the value that's in it, because of the material that's being taught, that's how it used to be. But this thing, school in and of itself is important. Oh, I graduated. And I guess I can see why they have this, because they think just because I attended school, just because I graduated, means I'm important and I demand these things from simply having gone through this. And this is not only on the people doing this. This is part of the system itself. This is part of the state itself, because they had to back up the reason they were taking those property taxes, the reason they were propping up these institutions, these schools, these teachers' unions that are big voting blocks for the continuation of this thing. And then you turn this thing in together, and then people want to feel like they're doing something important, so that people are going to go there, and this goes into the next one. Teachers are low-paid idiots. When has Trump said that? Maybe because he's saying he put Betsy DeVos right there, and okay, yeah, he hates women, but he put someone like Betsy DeVos as the head of the education, of the Department of Education in the United States of America, and she's done things on trying to back out the federal influence in education, which I think is a positive thing. Let people decide. They're trying to increase the charter school things. If these people are so much against charter schools, what's the point of that? If you have charter schools, if you have people taking around, having more control in what they're doing, this is a thing that does affect minorities a lot more than than the majority of the white population in the United States of America. I think in general, a lot of the white people, maybe a lot of the people who hold some of these thoughts lived in certain areas where the public schools were not necessarily the same as majority of the minority schools. So when they have some people talking about let people be able to choose their schools, they had a pretty decent experience at their school. So they're like, why would I choose to go to somewhere else? Yet with some of these other places, they might benefit from being able to say, hey, I will actually put in the extra time to wake up and take my kid an hour away instead of just having them walk 15 minutes to this school because I actually have looked into it and I think my kid will benefit more from being an hour away. And you have this charter system, you have different ways to get these things where it's not necessarily teachers are low paid. I don't care about the idiot type of thing here. It's not about the pay when you talk about these situations. You can tie in this thing. If a school is doing better, you tie it in and you award these people more. If you have a charter school, it's full of these teachers that they're teaching in an excellent system, and then they're getting these students to come in, and then other schools are like, we want to get some of that. That teacher's pretty good. Let me send my teacher there to learn there, and then maybe some teacher gets poached, and that teacher goes to somewhere else, and then that teacher's like, okay, if you come and teach your system at our school, we'll pay you more. And you can increase some kind of competition in this thing and drive up wages in this sense. That can be a positive thing. It's always okay to lie. With this one, I've had an odd relationship. I have a couple of videos talking about honesty, and it's something that I kind of focus on. People tell you as your kid, and like, oh, honesty is the best policy. I don't necessarily think that. My take is honesty is the best policy I can offer you if you can afford to buy it, if you can meet the requirements for that. And some of the requirements for that is for me to see that you actually value truth. You actually value honesty. You're not going to shoot the messenger. You're not going to be angry at me for saying something. And I think a lot of adulthood, a lot of groups are more defined by the lies you tell each other rather than the truth that you tell, because the truth is just there. I don't have to sell you the truth. It's just there. Reality doesn't need convincing. I just show you reality. It doesn't take much to do it. If it's raining outside, all I gotta do is just open the window and be like, look, water coming from the sky. It's rain. If it's cloudy, I just open the door and like, look, clouds. Can't really see the sun. If it's nighttime, look, stars, moon, darkness. This is the truth. But then if I want to lie to you about that, if it's nighttime and it's not rainy, and I want to make you think it's daytime and rainy, I have to set up lights, have to set up the sound and things like that, have to set up a machine blowing the water, I have to do that whole Hollywood type of thing. And then I can convert a situation to make it seem like it's a daytime and rainy. But that takes a lot more effort. So just the truth is just the truth. But in general, people do tell lies. When somebody's telling me the belief Santa Claus is real, they tell me Jesus Christ is real, they tell me the state is actually an institution of peace and organization that does things better than the free market. When people tell me, oh, I really care for you, and they do X, Y, Z, all these things, just all these lies we tell each other. I'm like, do you know that's true? How do you know that's true? What do people consider to be truths? People are like, oh, you can't say that to somebody. You can't just say what you feel about that person. You have to think about that person's feeling. You offended that person. You have to tell them, no. People do think this person who posted this does think it's okay to lie. It's something I am 99.9% sure the person who posted this thinks it's okay to lie. Okay, so that's just this thing that grinded my gears. I just felt I had to come out and talk about this. Anyway, if I had another one of these, we're to go back to making other videos. Like, share, and subscribe. Link to merchandise below. If you want to support the channel, share this stuff. Let me know if you agree with these things. Okay, seriously, if there are actually examples of Trump who's done these things, never apologized. Okay, I've already given an example, but where do you think they're getting these things from? If you agree with these things, that this is things that are coming from Trump, give me the examples. Because I've seen some that I think, okay, maybe you can say that, but I'm thinking it's more how people have twisted what he's done and said and putting too much importance in him. Because I think if you have solid parents, if you have solid guardians in your life, you're learning from them more. So even if somebody above is doing something else, they're learning from people directly in their life. So anyway, let me know, prove me wrong if you think there's enough to say that yes, Trump is actually somebody who's set up the situation where school's not important because he's done this and this and this repeatedly instead of this and this and this. Or if you say he's actually shown that he's afraid of people not white because, oh, all the people in the coronavirus board were white and things like that. Tell me where these things are coming from. Yeah, okay, that's it for now. Like, share, and subscribe. Links to merchandise. Hit me up in the comments section. There's also Patreon and PayPal if you want to donate or support the channel. Till next video, goodbye.